Senator Bernie Sanders just visited Charleston, West Virginia, and brought the House down, shredding Trump in front of a huge audience as part of his Fight the Oligarchy tour. Senator Sanders says that I don't care, blue state, red state, we need to support workers. I'm not buying into these political divisions and cultural divisions. We are fighting for the working class, and that's how we are going to win back our country. Watch how he is greeted in Charleston, West Virginia. Play this clip.
Thank you, Charleston. In case you haven't noticed, there are a lot of people here. Let me thank, love you too.
And here he addresses the fact that he is in a red state, but he says it doesn't matter. We need to fight for workers, and that's how we're going to rebuild our country. Play this clip.
Some of you may be wondering, what is the senator from the great state of Vermont doing in the great state of West Virginia? And I will give you the answer. I happen not to believe in blue state, red state nonsense. In my state, Mr. Trump got, I think, 33% of the vote. In your state, he got 70% of the vote. But you know what? What I have learned and what I believe from the bottom of my heart is whether you're a working class person in Vermont or a working class person here in West Virginia, the issues and the struggles you face are exactly the same. In Vermont, we are struggling with inadequate wages. That's what you are facing here. In Vermont, we're paying some of the highest healthcare costs in the country. You got a healthcare crisis here. In Vermont, we can't afford to send our kids to college. Neither can you. We've got environmental problems. You've got environmental problems. So let us not allow the establishment people to divide us up. Not blue state, not red state. Not whether we're black or we're white, whether we're Latino, whether we're gay or whether we are straight, whether we're Muslim. We are one people. And if we stand together, we can do enormous things, because at the end of the day, and I'll talk about this in a moment, the 1% and the oligarchs have enormous wealth and enormous power, and that is true. But while I am not a PhD in mathematics, I do know that 99% is a hell of a lot larger number than 1%. And our job is not to allow them to divide us up.
Another powerful moment from Senator Bernie Sanders' speech right here. Let's play it.
So let me tell you a little bit what you're not going to see on corporate media, and you're not going to hear on the floor of the Senate or the House. And that is, right now in America, we have more income and wealth inequality than we have ever had in the history of America. Today in America, if you can believe it, and it really is quite unbelievable, and I think a lot of folks don't believe it, but the truth is that you got one man, Mr. Musk, who owns more wealth than the bottom 52% of American households. You got the top 1% owning more wealth than the bottom 93%. You got CEOs of major corporations making 350 times what their workers make. There was just a piece in the paper, I think it was the Washington Post the other day. There's a big competition going on in Palm Beach, Florida, where these zillionaires are buying, this waterfront property and building homes for tens and tens of millions of dollars. So the bottom line is that the people on top today are making money hand over fist. They don't know what to do with their money. Jeff Bezos, the second wealthiest guy in the world, had a nice little wedding in Venice. And he wanted to give his new wife a nice little gift. He gave her a $5 million ring. Guy owns 14 homes. These guys are incredibly wealthy, but what is driving them and what is going to destroy this country unless we turn it around is their incredible greed. They are very religious people, and greed is their religion. They worship on the altar of money. And I got to tell you, they are not nice guys. They could care less about what they are doing to ordinary Americans.
Yeah, powerful stuff. Here he is again. Let me show you this portion of his speech. Let's play it.
I want people, working people, low-income people, to be able to run for office, not having to beg billionaires for money. I want an election. I want to see elections where what matters is a clash of ideas. You disagree with me? Great, come on up, run against me. Let's argue your ideas versus my ideas. That is called democracy. Let us not have what we have now, is super PACs putting zillions of dollars into these ugly 30-second TV ads. That is not democracy. But our job now, brothers and sisters, is not just to take on Trump's ugly and dangerous agenda. His agenda is not only tax breaks for the rich and cuts in programs for working people, as I'm sure everybody here knows, in a very frightening way, he is moving us toward an authoritarian society. He is usurping the powers of Congress. He is challenging the responsibilities of the courts. He is suing the media. He is trying to undermine universities and law firms throughout this country. And what I say to Mr. Trump is too many people in Vermont and West Virginia have put their lives on the line and sometimes died to defend our democracy. We're not going to let them take that away from us. Now, Trump his politics, his style of politics is new to America, but it is not new to the world. He is playing the same old playbook that demagogues have always used. And what is the essence of what demagogues do? What they do is they pick on minorities, often powerless minorities, and they blame those minorities for all the problems that people are experiencing. In our country, it used to be blacks, used to be gays. In Europe, it was Jews, it was gypsies. You pick your minority group, they're powerless, and then you blame them for all of the problems society is facing. Today, the targets are primarily undocumented people and the trans community. So what Trump does, and I was there, it was a remarkable thing. I don't know if any of you recall it. I do, because I was there at his State of the Union speech. This guy went on, one of the longest State of the Union speech ever given. It was 100 minutes. He forgot to talk about the healthcare crisis, forgot to talk about the education crisis, forgot to talk about the climate crisis, forgot to talk about virtually every major issue facing the American people. But what did he talk about? He talked about undocumented people, and he lied, and he lied, and he lied. So this is what I want to say. Okay? This is what demagogues always do. You got a housing problem, you got a healthcare problem, you're not making enough money, your kids can't go to college. You know whose fault it is? It's all the undocumented. And we are going to come together to hate the undocumented, and then we forget about the oligarchs and the people who have the wealth and the power. That's the oldest trick in the book. Trump didn't invent it. That's what they always do. And our job is to do exactly the opposite.
Right now, the headlines are chock full of data breaches and regulatory rollbacks, making us all vulnerable. But you can do something about it. Delete Me is here to make it easy, quick, and safe to remove your personal data online. As someone with an active online presence, privacy is really important to me. I've been following all the data breaches in the news. In a recent Coinbase breach, a hacker got names, addresses, phone numbers, the last 4 digits of social security numbers, and even masked bank account numbers. Data brokers can vacuum up a lot of that data, build a searchable profile about you, and sell it to whoever wants it. Thankfully, Delete Me can help remove it from those sites and keep your info from falling into the wrong hands. Delete Me does all the hard work of wiping you and your family's personal information from hundreds of data broker websites. You sign up, tell Delete Me exactly what information you want removed, and their experts take it from there, sending you regular privacy reports showing what they found and removed. And it's not just a one-time thing. Delete Me is always working for you, constantly monitoring and removing your personal information. Take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me. Now at a special discount for our listeners. Get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/Meidas and use promo code Meidas at checkout. The only way to get 20% off is to go to joindeleteme.com/Meidas and enter code Meidas, MEIDAS at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/Meidas, code Meidas.
And I love when Senator Sanders speaks to the crowd and asks them, is the healthcare system working for you? No. Is the education system working for you? No. Are you living paycheck to paycheck right now? Yes. Is that fair? No. Is it fair that CEOs are making 350, 500, 1,000 times the amount of money as their workers, and in some cases more? Is that fair to you? No. Are you okay with this system where you're living paycheck to paycheck? No. I want you to watch this. Some powerful stuff right here. Let's play it.
I get around the country a lot, and I ask people a simple question. I'm going to ask it to you right now. Does the American healthcare system work? That is exactly the response I get to every audience I talk to. So here's what you got in healthcare. You got a situation where we spend, as a nation, almost double what every other nation on earth spends. You got that? We are spending the insane amount of $14,000 a year for every man, woman, and child. When you spend that kind of money, we should have the best healthcare system in the world by far. Well, we don't. According to all of the studies, despite all the money we spend, we have one of the worst systems. And the reason for that is the function of the American healthcare system today is not to provide quality for everybody. The function is to make a whole lot of money for the insurance companies and the drug companies. So when we go forward, and I don't care whether you're a conservative Republican or a progressive, the vast majority of the American people understand that health care is a human right, not a privilege. And what I want you to understand, and what I want you to understand, and I think a lot of people around the country don't understand, this is not a radical idea. This exists in virtually every other major country on earth. I live 50 miles away from the Canadian border. You end up in a hospital in Canada for a month. You know what the bill is when you come out? Zero. They spend far less per capita than we spend. So our job together is to take on the greed of the insurance companies and the greed of the drug companies, who, by the way, charge us by far the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. We got to take them on and move to a Medicare for all single-payer system. And I want you all just to think for a minute what it will mean, working people all over this country, to understand that when you get sick, or your mom gets sick, or your kids get sick, you don't have to worry about how you're going to pay the bill. You go to the doctor when you need to go to the doctor. And by the way, when we talk about healthcare workforce, we need to substantially increase the number of doctors we have, the number of nurses we have, the number of dentists that we have, the number of mental health counselors that we have. This is a system broken from top to bottom, only designed to make the drug companies, the insurance companies richer, and we have got to change that. And again, we can do that, in terms of healthcare. We don't even have to spend any more money because the system is so bureaucratic and wasteful that spending the same amount can cover all of our people. In terms of education, let's talk about education for a second. Education is the foundation of a vibrant democracy. And in a competitive global economy, we need the best educated workforce in the world. So what do we got today? Let's look at education in the richest country in the world, where the billionaires are doing phenomenally well. Start off, anybody here have little kids in childcare? Yeah. Okay. Cost of childcare is off the roof. In Vermont, maybe $20,000, $25,000 a year. And meanwhile, the teachers, the instructors at childcare are paid starvation wages. Okay? So think about it. If we understand what every psychologist will tell you, that the ages of 0 through 4 are the most important years of human development, intellectually and emotionally, right? And if we believe, all these people, they love America. Well, if you love America, you love the future of America, you love the children of America. They are our future. And we should love them and cherish them. And that means, among other things, we should not have the highest rate of childhood poverty of any major country on earth. We should not have kids going to bed hungry at night. And we should have a first-class child care system. And if you want, here's another story. When you talk about America, there was a time, decades ago, when America led the world. We were the best educated country on earth. No longer the case. We had a higher percentage of our people getting a college degree than any other country. No longer the case. Right now, if you are the son or daughter of a working class person, you got to think twice about whether you even want to go to college. Because you got to come out $50,000, $100,000 in debt. You want to become a doctor in America? Guess what? You're going to come out $500,000 in debt. A nurse, $150,000 in debt. Meanwhile, we need doctors, we need nurses, we need people in the construction industry to help us rebuild our broken infrastructure and to help us move to sustainable energy. So For the sake of the future of this country, we have got to make sure that every child in America gets the best education he or she can, regardless of their income. And once again, it is not a radical idea to say that we should make public colleges and universities tuition free. And I'm happy to say that there are some states beginning to move in that direction. What our dream is, our vision is that every kid, no matter how poor, understands that if he or she does their schoolwork well, is disciplined, studies hard, they will be able to get a college degree or go to a good trade school or whatever. So in America today, again, richest country on earth, rich doing phenomenally well, healthcare system is broken, educational system in deep trouble. What are the basic necessities that people need? Well, last I heard, most of us need a roof over our heads. We need decent housing. In America today, 800,000 of our people are homeless, and 20 million households are spending half of their limited incomes on housing. Think about that. You're spending 50% of your income on housing. How do you have money for anything else? You don't. So why in the richest country on earth are we not building millions of units of low income and affordable housing? In Trump's big, terrible bill, not only do we cut Medicaid, etc., we also put another $150 billion into the military. We now spend more than the next 10 nations below us combined on military spending. Maybe instead of building tanks and guns, maybe we should build low-income and affordable housing. And when we talk about where we are as a nation today, here is a reality that everybody understands. And that is that over the last 50 years, I want you to think back, 50 years, there's been a huge explosion in technology, right? And every worker in this room is far more productive than the person who had a similar type job 50 years ago, okay? One might think that when we are seeing increased worker productivity, workers would be making a lot more income, right? Here is the truth. And this is really quite an unbelievable reality. It's not discussed enough. But over the last 50 years, real income accounted for weekly wages for workers are actually lower today than they were 50 years ago. Can you believe that? So workers are producing much more, and yet in real inflation accounted for dollars, they're earning less. And a study came out a couple of years ago from the Rand Corporation, and it said that during that period of time, there was a $75 trillion redistribution of wealth from the bottom 90% to the top 1%. Got it? So that's what's going on. What we're seeing is workers are working long hours. They're more productive. They're going nowhere in a hurry. And meanwhile, the people on top are getting all the wealth and almost all of the income. So what do we got to do about that? There are a couple of things. First of all, the good news is that all over this country, workers want to join unions. This morning I had the honor, we were in Mingo County, and we went to the museum in Mattawan. I don't know if any of you have been there. And you have a hell of a history here of union struggle in West Virginia. And what the mine workers and the others have done has had an impact on the labor movement all over this country. But right now, despite the fact that workers want to join unions, very often they can't because their companies are acting illegally in preventing them from forming a union. And that's why we've got to pass a piece of legislation introduced called the PRO Act, which would punish any corporation that acted against workers' legal right to form a union. What's the minimum wage here in West Virginia? $8.75 an hour. Anybody live on $8.75 an hour? All right, you got to raise the minimum wage nationally to at least $17 an hour. We are one of only a very few countries around the world, including poor countries, that don't guarantee paid family and medical leave. Mothers should not have to make the choice about whether or not they stay home with their sick kids or get fired. So we got to put that on our working class agenda. We got to guarantee paid family and medical leave and sick leave to every worker in America. Now, I didn't know this until a couple of years ago when I studied this and when I became chairman of the Health Education Labor Committee. It turns out, really, again, all of this stuff is so astounding given that we are such a wealthy country. It turns out that over 20% of seniors in America are trying to survive on $15,000 a year or less. Got that? Half of seniors are trying to get by on $30,000 a year or less. And then you got people out there who are trying to undermine Social Security and cut Social Security. We're not going to cut Social Security. We're going to expand Social Security. And the way you do that is not hard. Right now, somebody makes $10 million a year. They pay the same amount into the Social Security Trust Fund. Somebody makes $176,000. We're going to lift that cap and ask those folks to start putting the money into the system. Trump and his friends want to lay tens of thousands of workers off from the Veterans Administration. We don't. We're going to expand veterans' benefits, expand the health care, and get more doctors and nurses into the Veterans Administration, not lay off thousands of workers there. When Trump ran for president, he kind of pretended that he was a friend of working families. So I want to just say to those folks in West Virginia or Vermont who may have listened to Trump, he gave long speeches and went on and on. Let me tell you what he did not talk about during his campaign. In fact, what he did. I don't recall that during his campaign when he asked for your vote, he didn't tell you that he was going to give $1 trillion in tax breaks to the top 1%. Anyone hear him say that? $900 billion in tax breaks to large, profitable corporations. I didn't hear that. Trump did not tell the American people, hey, elect me president, and we're going to throw 15 million people off of Medicaid and raise insurance rates for those people on the Affordable Care Act. Could have missed it. I don't think he said that. Trump did not campaign on telling people in West Virginia or Vermont that with these cuts in Medicaid, we're going to be losing rural hospitals, more pressure on community health centers. I don't think he told us that. He didn't tell us that he was going to double, or in some cases triple monthly student loan payments. Forgot to tell you that, right? So, Trump campaigned on a lot of things, but what he ends up doing is not what he said he would do in terms of the most important issues facing our country. So, brothers and sisters, we are where we are right now We are in an economy which is doing phenomenally well for the rich, while the middle class and working class and low-income people are struggling. We are living in an economy where our healthcare system is broken. Our education system is in very deep trouble. Where all over this country, we are facing environmental problems because of climate change. I just flew in from Vermont the other day. And in Vermont right now, we're breathing filthy air, which comes from Canadian wildfires. And we're going to see those kind of wildfires. We're seeing drought. We're seeing flooding. You've had flooding here in West Virginia. We've had it in Vermont. You're going to see heat waves taking place in Europe all over the world. And we have got to recognize, unlike Trump, that climate change is real. So I'm not going to kid you. I'm going to tell you what you, I think, know. This is an unprecedented moment in the modern history of this country. We are in deep trouble. But I will also remind you that this is not the first time in American history where we have faced very, very difficult situations. And it's important to remember that, because I think sometimes people get overwhelmed. Oh, we can't take on the oligarchs. We can't create a decent life for working families. Just you think back in American history. I don't mean to be overly romantic here, but think back when this country was first formed. You got a small number of people taking on the entire British Empire. You know what? They stood up and they fought back and they won. It wasn't easy. You think about the struggle against the abomination of slavery and how many people in the 1830s, 1840s, 1850s, all over the country stood up and said, you know, slavery is not what America can tolerate. We've got to get rid of it. And they were ridiculed, they were beaten, they were killed. And a terrible, terrible civil war took place. Hundreds of thousands of people died. We ended slavery. And then came the Jim Crow era of segregation in the South. And you have people like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and others. And millions of people, black and white, rallied and said, you know what? We're not going to accept apartheid in the United States of America. We fought that fight and we won that fight. You think about the position of women in American society. I can remember not so many years ago, a few decades ago, there was one woman in the United States Senate. And for decades, way back when, women fought, sometimes died, went to jail, went on hunger strikes to demand not only the right for women to vote, but to break down all of the sexist barriers that women face. And we're still fighting that fight, but we've won major victories. When I was a kid growing up, there was nobody, no kid that I know who acknowledged being gay. And people suffered as a result of that. We have come a long way where people understand that people have a right to their sexual orientation. 30, 40 years ago, nobody would have imagined we'd have a black president. Nobody would imagine that we would have gay marriage in America. But we prevailed. People mobilized, they organized, they stood up for justice, and they won. So I'm not going to tell you that the struggle against the oligarchs is easy. It is not. I know these guys. They have unlimited. You don't know what the word unlimited is. You know, you think of money in a certain way. Do I have $10 for this? Should I go out and do that? Money is for them a whole different world. $1 million means nothing. That's chump change. Hundreds of millions don't mean anything. Hey, you're running for office? I'll support you. Here's $100 million. Doesn't mean anything to them. They got unlimited amounts of money. They own the media. They control both political parties to a significant degree. They got a lot of power. But our job is not to hide under the covers. Our job is not to say, oh my God, there's nothing we can do. That is exactly what they want you to do. They want you to feel powerless. But you are not powerless. When we stand together, and that's what the trade union movement has taught us. When we stand together, we win. And I can also tell you, having been to every state in this country, that the agenda that we fight for, demanding that the rich start paying their fair share of taxes. Healthcare is a human right. Raising the minimum wage, paid family and medical leave, making college available to all regardless of income. These are not radical ideas. They're supported by the majority of Americans in this country. In West Virginia, you have a unique role to play, and I mean this sincerely. This is a working class state. That is what you are. And your job right now is to bring people together, to make it clear that every person in West Virginia, Vermont, and all over this country deserves a decent standard of living, that you deserve a vibrant democracy. So brothers and sisters, we got a lot of work to do. Let us not go backward in fear. Let us go forward. Let us take on the oligarchs. Let us win this thing. Thank you very much.
Now, folks, that's how it's done. Charleston, West Virginia, showing a packed crowd for Senator Bernie Sanders. I'm proud to be able to show that here on the MeidasTouch Network. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million subscribers.
Love this video? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch and help us blow past 1 million followers.